this. Nice. All right, Will, welcome to the Great Physicians Ministry. Marlo and I wanted to thank you all for allowing us to serve. We're super grateful for the opportunity to really serve. It's been, wow, it's been just over, I think it's been about a year and a half now. And we had no idea that this is what was going to happen. That it'd be a chat that blows up, and it'd be an opportunity for us all to really combine together and encourage each other. I've seen so much encouragement. So many prayers have gone out because of the Great Physicians Ministry. So many opportunities really to lift each other up. It's been incredible just to be a part of it, to see it even from a distance. And so I'm not involved in everything. Like it became a community of people who are just like, hey, like, I'm praying for you. You can do it. A real encouraging ministry. And, at first we had to come up with a few guidelines. It wasn't always what it was. We had to come up with a few guidelines in order to make it work. And I wanted to remind us of what some of those things are before I get into the lesson today. And, one of those things was that we don't give medical or legal advice in the ministry, right? I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I don't have any idea medically. Like, I have thoughts and all opinions and all that stuff, but I don't even practice medicine. I don't want to act like I practice medicine. So I don't give out medical advice on the chats or anything like that. And I want to make sure that we as a group continue that practice of just making sure that we're not giving medical advice or diagnoses or anything like that. Also, if we confess any kind of suicidal ideation, it's crazy, but it can happen. And we get, this hurts. Like the stuff we go through, the chronic pain, the chronic illnesses, they get so annoying, so frustrating, and they sap our hope, which we'll talk about now. But we can get to a point where we just don't want to go on anymore. However, when that is confessed, we all have an obligation to protect and love, and to get with your ministry leaders, to talk to your people, to talk to your friends, your family, whoever we can. We're going to call you directly and your shepherds if you confess any kind of suicidal ideation. If you've got a plan, if you got any kind of opportunity, we want to make sure that we're being the best we can be for you. And we want you to confess and get open, but we want you to know that we're going to take care of you. And the other one is in the chats, we're going to build each other up. I love that passage in Ephesians 4:29. It's like, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, only what's helpful for building others up according to your needs. We don't blame each other. We're not minimizing. We're going to trust each other. So we just need to be careful about the input we give to others. If someone were to suggest, I asked my doctor for pain medications because all the pain I'm in, for me, that would be a sin. For me to go and ask for pain medications, because I would abuse them. I've done that in the past. For me, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So we just have to be really careful and trust each other when it comes to the kind of feedback we give each other. We just want to build each other up. We don't want it to be something that we're really directing each other to, or anything like that, or even criticizing each other for not doing what we think they should be doing. We can get that. We can get so passionate about the health, about the things that have helped us in the past. And we got to be really careful not to get so passionate about those things that we kind of ram them down people's throats. So another one, in the chat guidelines is, we also won't suggest a diagnosis of any kind. It's so easy just to go, you probably got multiple sclerosis. I believe me, anybody who's got anything is thinking all kinds of stuff. All kinds of fear is going on. We're talking to our doctors about every possible thing. And if you do have a suggestion like that, we suggest, you just talk about it, relate your experiences. If it, a lot of times we see somebody going through something we think is similar to what we went through, and then we want to go, oh, well, that's this. I don't know if that's this, but I can share my story with somebody, and they can go, oh, wait, maybe I should talk to my doctor about that thing as well. And so that's huge. I want to make sure that we all have that kind of an attitude, to where we're not suggesting any kind of diagnosis, but we're letting our experiences really guide each other, help each other. And the last one, number 5 here, is, most of us, we're not nutritionists, and if we are, we aren't each other's clients, right? So we're going to avoid suggesting like supplements and different things like that. You can say, hey, I'm taking this, or you can reach out to somebody individually and talk to them. But on the chat, we don't want to turn it into like a, you should do this kind of chat. I mean, these are commands that really protect and guide and keep the chat very encouraging. The chat right now is a big part of what we're doing, as well as these lessons that we have every month. I was hoping to get to twice a month, but whoever takes over is going to have to decide that themselves. And again, the goal of this command is love. Like, it's all about protect. Love always protects. So we want to make sure that we're doing this, because this isn't an I can fix you ministry, but it's a he's with you ministry. So it's always got to be encouraging, loving, helping each other be the best they can be for God, and giving each other strength. And to be honest, that's really all I see on the chats now is people like, you can do it. There's so much encouragement. There's so much love for one another. Hey, have you considered this? Or hey, here's a scripture. Or, hey, he's with you. You're like, he'll never leave you or forsake you. It's so incredible what we've done, and the love that we've shown one another. And that's really what I want to talk to you guys about today, is the greatest thing ever. And that is love. The greatest of these. But we all know this passage in 1 Corinthians 13, where it says that, everything is going to pass away, but these 3 things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And I want to talk to you guys about faith. And sometimes we get our faith in a place where it's broken, because we have expectations that God doesn't meet our expectations and our understanding, and our faith can get broken. I want to talk to you about fixing your faith. Fixing your faith. And that's what we're going to get into now. If you don't have a Bible, you can follow along on here in Hebrews 11. I'll give you a second to get there. Hebrews 11 is the infamous Hall of Faith chapter. It's a incredible, all these examples about faith and God working in faith, and really working through people's actions. We show our faith by what we do, and it's not just this. I used to always say, faith was like some kind of magic word. It's really not. Like, faith is a very simple word. It's just that it's been kind of it's a word that like religious people use, where it's more like about trust, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I want to talk about fixing our faith. Fixing our faith. When we have expectations that aren't met, when we have illnesses and we're like dragged down, when we work with disciples or men and women, or we baptize somebody and they come out and they're wood, hay, and straw. Like they're just not ready for the fire, and we're learning how to make disciples, and we don't get what we expect, or in some cases, even you've been around long enough that you've invested in somebody, a guy next to you, is faithful, but just something flips. And all of a sudden he's your enemy. And you're like, what the heck is going on here? And it can really just jack our faith up. A lot of times when we have chronic illnesses and we read scriptures like Psalm 103 about like, he heals all my diseases. And I was like, yeah, but what about this disease that I have? And we're older. Some of us get older, and some of our bones start to creak, and things start to ache just from sitting down for a long time. Our faith can get twisted and warped and messed up. And I want to talk to us about fixing our faith, about how we can really get from a place where our faith is really messed up to a place where we're fully in line with trusting God in a way where it seems like almost nothing can go wrong. And if it seems to go wrong on the outside, it's actually for our good. We're going to start here in Hebrews 11, verse 6. And it says, and without faith, it's impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. By faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he didn't know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac, for he was looking forward to a city with foundations whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sands on the seashore. Fixing our faith. Here, the writer, which some believe is actually Luke, he's saying that, without faith, we can't please God. I have children. When they don't have faith in me, it really hurts. I get this. When my kids, when they don't trust, when they're like I have my youngest daughter, she struggles with this a lot. I love her, but I've had to really earn her trust and build it. And I haven't done anything to violate the trust. It's just hard for her to come by. I have to accept that. And as I've worked with her and building trust, building her faith in me, like she believes more and more I can do and will do, and she'll start actually taking risks because of we're fixing the faith between us. But here we understand without faith, it's impossible to please God, because when we don't trust God, he's like, well, what do you mean you don't trust me? I created you. I decided what time and place you should live. Everything in your life I've done for your good. Why don't you trust me? You gotta, first, we all believe he exists, but sometimes even that can be like, is he really real? I'm going through all this pain right now. Is he really real? Is he really there? And does he care about all the work I've already put in? Some of us who are in chronic illnesses have put in years and years and years of service to our God, and wonder if we can cash in on some of that. Is he really reward? Is this the reward for what I've done? In a sense, yes. When we have trust in God, the pain we go through is a reward. How the heck can that be? This hurts too much. What God has done and how he's shaping our thinking and our character, and how he's shaping the way that we view the world, our judgment, and how we consider other people. He's using all that pain that we go through, all that struggle we go through, all the frustration and all the annoying things that happen in our life to change our thinking. You think, well, wow, this is a reward for what we have. It's hard to identify it. We don't see it oftentimes till after the catastrophe, till after the big thing happens. Like here's Noah, he's preaching in holy fear. He warned about things coming. He said, hey, there's a flood coming. Often like we do, we're like, hey, Jesus is coming back and he's coming with fire. Like this is what's going to happen here. And we're warning other people and pleading with them. And whether they listen or not, it's between them and God at the end of the day, but we can take it personally. Noah didn't take it personally. He's like, I just got to build something that will save my family. Man, it's huge. I got to build a church that will be here for my kids and my grandkids. And I got to make sure it's something that my kids really want to be a part of and aren't going to get hurt by. And yeah, they get hurt, but be able to overcome the toxicity that might be in it. I got to get them to build trust in this thing that we're building. How do we do that? It's holy fear. It's reverence. Like it's a appreciation of God, in a sense of like, God, I know that you're real. I know that you're reward, and I want that reward. I love the fact that you're watching over me every moment of my life. I love the fact that you care more about my pain than I ever could. You care more about me than I ever could. You care more about selling my house and moving to Dallas than I ever could. Why? Because you called us to do it. And when you've called us to do it, you're interested, you're involved. We're co-workers in the harvest field. When he's called us to do it, he's like right there. He's like right there with us. And he wants us to be successful. See, in verse 8, he calls Abraham. He's like, hey, go to Ur of the Chaldeans. Abe's like, I've never been to the Ur of the Chaldeans. What are you talking about? Like he had only been in the one city with his dad that whole time. He didn't know where it was. He may have heard some rumors or whatever. I personally have never been to Dallas, right? But Abraham was like, I'm going. God, you told me to go, so I'm going. He obeyed and went, even though he didn't know. He didn't know. And why? Because he understood God will reward me if I do what he wants. God will reward me. And it's better. Do you get what God wants versus compared to like what I think is best? Like what I think is best is garbage compared to what God calls me to be. And then when Abraham got there, he made it his home. Like he joined the Chamber of Commerce, like he got involved in the neighborhood watch. Like he made it his home. It was something that he did that he was like, look, hey, I'm setting my foot here like Joshua did. And God's like, any place you set your foot, I promise I'm going to give to you. For Abraham, this is my land. This is my home. And he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. Why? Because he knew, like, I'm not doing this for what is here and right now. I'm doing this for what God is building for me, what heaven is. That's what I'm doing this for. All the stuff we go through, it's not for Orange County, as much as I love the outer city super region. It's not for Culver City. It's not for Coachella Valley, Santa Barbara. All those, some of those places are beautiful. Manhattan Beach and Palos Verdes, beautiful places, right? They're nothing compared to what God has in store for us. And we'll still feel like an alien and a foreigner and a stranger when we get there, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's all about looking forward to. That's what trust is. Like I trust that God has got this city there. So I'm just going to keep plugging away. I'm going to keep doing the next right thing. I'm going to go after it. Even Sarah, she's like, I'm all dried up. There's no way I can naturally have a kid. This got to be an act of God. She may have been all dried up and like withdrawn. I know in some relationships after menopause, like people get withdrawn and they don't want to be intimate. And yet God is like, you got to keep that in your relationship. And so here's how I'm going to help you keep it. I promise you'll have a kid. I promise you'll produce something out of it. You will have a son. And so from this one man who faithfully was intimate with his wife, whose wife allowed him to be intimate, from that one man who was as good as dead came descendants as numerous as stars in the sky. What is faith? It's trust. In Greek, the word is pistis, which is a conviction of the truth of anything. Really, you have faith when you flip a light switch on. And then you feel that letdown when the light doesn't come on, or you see it like flash real quick and the light bulb goes out. But say we all have faith when it comes to flipping a light switch. We know that when we do that, certain things happen. And we have trust, right? It's this conviction of truth, but it's generally included with the idea of trust and holy fervor born from that trust. So it's not just faith isn't just like believing that something's true. It's trusting it's true and then letting that compel you to action. Faith inspires zeal. It gives us everything we need because we trust that so we believe we can take a risk. I trust that, hey, I'm not going to test God. Don't hear what I'm not saying, right? But I'm not going to sit here and like wait for him to come back in the clouds with my one talent buried in the ground in front of me. No, I'm going to go and God's given me one. He trusts me with one to turn it one into two. Boom. I'm going to go and I'm going to take that with fervor and zeal and pour it out there. Right? It's huge. How do we get to that trust back? I know for a long time I stopped believing. I stopped believing in giving. I started seeing other people prosper and started comparing myself to other people in the world. That's not who I should be comparing myself to. I need to compare myself to Jesus, right? But I would compare myself to the world. I'd look at certain circumstances. I'd look at position. I'd look at wealth. I'd look at all these small other things. And I would allow my faith to just wither. Not like this beautiful green leafy plant in front of us, right? But it just wither, right? And I just stopped believing. I stopped giving. I stopped believing God would bless my giving. I stopped believing that he would listen to me. There was just nothing that I believed anymore. And at one point, I even stopped praying. I stopped reading the Bible. I told Marlo, I'm like, look, I don't know what I believe anymore. I had to fix my faith. And what I have to do, first of all, like I had to really pray for God to reveal to me what his will is in my life. And to show me, show me that I'm on the right track here. And the only way I could do that was I had to really get in the scriptures and I had to study and look at the character of God. And when I did that, I saw like God wasn't doing anything in my life out of character. God had been involved every step of the way. And what happened is that my eyes, I'd become myopic. I'd forgotten about how I'd been cleansed from my past sins. I'd become nearsighted and blind. And because of that, like I stopped seeing the miracles. And I stopped noticing them. And really, what helped me out was like looking at the scriptures, but also applying those scriptures to my life and seeing the value of what God had for me. Right. And over time, like it took me a few weeks. Marlo was scared to death because I just stopped reading. I said, I'm only going to pray. God hears my prayers. He's going to lead me to the absolute truth. And he led me right back to where I'm at right now. And it was a confirmation that I needed in order to get me to a place where my faith could get fixed, where I could start to rebuild with God. And it had to, almost like it had to have a controlled burn in a sense so that it could have new growth. And in the new growth of trusting God, I started to take risks. Like, okay, I look at my budget and I see that I'm going to be $300 short no matter what I do, but I'm still going to give to God first. And that risk was like, it was a risk. It's like, this is foolish and stupid, but I love you, God. I trust you. Here's the money. Plus a little extra, just to test you, you know? And I was in a situation even at work where somebody was trying to get me fired, mainly because of my faith. I was studying the Bible with a client, and this other counselor did not like that. And the client asked for it, and I told her what we were going to do. We were doing first principle studies, basic stuff. And yet the counselor was trying to get me fired. And I had to go, okay, look, I wanted to retaliate. See, that's not trusting God. God says, vengeance is mine. I will repay. He calls me to be kind to my enemies and to pray for them. And so I had to trust God. I had to not take matters in my own hands, even to the point where I wasn't even happy if anything bad happened to this person. And I did that. I just kind of let it. Okay, God, I'm giving this one to you. And every time, like I would get tempted again. She accused me on 3 different occasions. I had my manager call me, and all this. One of the directors call me, all this stuff. And every time she would do it, I just, okay, God, help me to love this person. And I go and I confront the person respectfully. Hey, is there anything I can do to fix this? She just disagreed on principle and went after me over it. Slandered me, talked bad. I just every time I was tempted to talk bad about her, I just prayed. And I trusted God with all those facts. I had to trust God with the reality of all the circumstances of my life. And when I trusted God, right, and I fixed my mind on Jesus, like, okay, I got to behave like Jesus. This is where the fix comes in. It's really about focusing on Jesus and what would Jesus do? Like, how would he behave in this situation? What would glorify him in this situation? That's when my faith started to really see some results. And that's really the answer, is fixing our eyes on Jesus, as it says in Hebrews 12. We'll take a look right there. Hebrews 12, because we have all these great guys who've done all these amazing things, who've been foreigners and strangers in different lands and have gone different places and given up different things and built things for God and have put action behind their faith and trusted God in such an incredible way. We have all these witnesses around us. And it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders, like doubt and fear and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so you will not grow weary and lose heart. It's all about fixing your faith is fixing our eyes on Jesus. It's all about that. In order for us to be effective, for us to be incredible disciples, we've got to fix our faith by fixing our eyes on Jesus. Why? He's the pioneer. Like he's gone further in faith than any one of us could ever dream. And then once we commit our life to him, he says we'll do even greater things. But we've got to do the things he did first, right? When we look at that in John 12 or John 14:12, he says, like, hey, if you trust me, if you believe in me, you love me, you'll do the things that I've been doing, you'll even do greater things. But it's the first things first. And in this case, it's like, man, I've got to do the greater things. When I see myself struggling and I can't quite make it, right? I can't make it to all the events that I want to. I got to trust that God has gone ahead of me in the spirit. I gotta trust that God trusts me too, because God, it says in his love, he always trusts. That's one of the aspects of love. When we look at love in Philippians 4, or I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians 4:7, it says there that love always perseveres, protects, hopes, and trusts. That means he loves you. He always trusts you. So he trusts, hey, if you can't make it, you can't make it. He trusts that you're doing the best you can. And he trusts in every way you're gonna do exactly what you need to be doing. We have to trust that his spirit's gonna go ahead of us. That when my wife is in a meeting without me that I want to be in, but I just can't be, I gotta trust that God's spirit is moving. That somehow Marlo or whoever's in that situation is gonna say exactly what needs to be said. It takes faith. But how do I do that? I gotta fix my eyes on Jesus, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross. Meaning he had to trust 12 guys who were considered idiots by Acts chapter 3, right? They were considered unschooled, ordinary men. And yet he had to trust 12 guys to evangelize the gospel, to evangelize the world. And yet in that trust, he was willing to endure the cross because he knew it would get a piece of him inside of each one of us. He knew what it was going to do. He had, in a sense, he trusted that God was going to fulfill his part of the bargain, that when he sacrificed himself, that a piece of him was going to be in us, that we would be set aside for him, that it was part of the bargain. That he have a family of foreigners and strangers to be his brother and sister. And it's incredible. He's the perfecter of our faith, the one who matures our faith. And he knows that there's joy for us. Why? That's where faith starts to meet hope. Where faith starts to meet hope. When we start trusting the one who's going to do everything and start really focusing on what he's going to do. When we start considering him who endured such opposition from sinners, so we won't grow weary and lose heart, we get a healing hope. A healing hope. And I like this picture here because there's a guy, I imagine there's a guy stranded on some island somewhere. But a healing hope would be this guy puts this message in the bottle, sends it out into the ocean, and then he just relaxes on the beach, knowing that it's going to get exactly where it has to get to. Let's go back to Hebrews 11 and verse 13 and consider this. Consider this as we read it. Hebrews 11, verse 13. It says, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They didn't receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they're looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they'd left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. I love this, right? All these people we're talking about. And he had talked about Enoch. He talked about Noah, Abraham. He goes on to talk about so many other just incredible people in the faith. He says all these people are living by faith when they died, even though they didn't get what was promised. Like Abraham never saw all those descendants. I mean, there were some things that he got to see. And he got to see some miracles in his life. But he didn't get to see all the descendants. He didn't get to see the city that God had built for him, not yet, right? We think he's still waiting with the rest of us. They only saw them and they welcomed them from a distance, right? And that's what hope really is. It's expecting an expectation of what's coming in the future. He said here, I love this. It says they admitted that they were foreigners and strangers. Don't you feel like that? I mean, I love people on this planet. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but I have a hard time I just went on a 4-day cruise, right, with Marlo for her 55th birthday. It's her and and I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 other people. I mean, people are smoking cannabis on the deck. Like, the things they're talking about, they're getting in all kinds of drama. I did not feel like I connected. I connected with a couple, but I did not feel like this was like I belonged there. You know what I mean? So many of us have felt that I'm alone in a crowd feeling. Some people never feel that. Some people feel like, no, this is home. But Earth has never been my home. It's never been, and it's never been yours either. There's a city that God has built for you, and he's just waiting for us to all see it. The bride, like a bride coming out, being seen for the first time. When you go to a wedding and you see that bride come out, it's like, oh my gosh, I've seen that sister every day for the last 6 weeks. But today she comes out and it's like seeing an angel. I don't know what happened here. The Spirit just does something amazing. That's what the city of God is going to be like for us. It's going to be, oh my, this is the most incredible, beautiful thing. I've read about it in the scriptures that it was going to be 1,500 miles high and 1,500 miles wide. And there are going to be 12 foundations. I don't even know what those materials are. Like some maybe diamond and different things. I've seen it in my mind, but what it looks like now is just incredible. And I'm longing for that. Even Paul said, look, I'm longing for this city. I can't wait to get there. I'm forgetting what's behind, straining toward what's ahead. He said, it'd be better for me to go on from here, but I'm here because I have fruitful labor. Right? And this hope that we have is a healing hope, because it allows us to look beyond the pain that we're in now and have this joyful expectation of salvation. Hope in the Greek is elpis, and it means it's simply a joyful and confident expectation of salvation. It's not wishful thinking, because in wishful thinking, there's almost no confidence, right? In wishful thinking, we're like, maybe it'll happen. I hope it'll happen. We say it like that too, like it's a birthday wish. It's not a birthday wish. Hope is like, man, I have a joy. I'm happy, and I can't wait for it to come. It's like when your dad says you get in the PlayStation 5 and he's serious about it and gives you that look, and it's like it's on order and it's coming. You get this joyful, confident expectation of PlayStation, not salvation. But nonetheless, right? And that's a small little itty bitty dumb thing on this planet, right? What God is waiting for us, it's going to be incredible. It's going to have a 200-foot high wall. Like when we walk up to the pearl that we're going to walk through to get into the city, we're not going to be able to see the top of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like 20 stories high, this wall. And when we get into it, we're going to walk through this tunnel. It's a 200-foot wide in diameter pearl. What? I don't know how that's going to, we're going to be speechless. We're going to go and we're going to be crying because it's going to be so great. And then we'll think about the people that were left behind that maybe we had the opportunity to reach out to, or that never listened to us. We'll be crying like that. And then we're going to see God, and he himself personally is going to wipe away every single tear. How do we have hope in the midst of all the pain? How do you have hope? We got to look forward, not just to the city of heaven, which is awesome, but we got to look forward to what God is going to do in us through the pain. And you take a look at Hebrews 12, and it talks about discipline and how God disciplines everyone that he sees as a son or daughter. No one gets away from discipline. It says everyone undergoes discipline. Everyone. You can't get away from it. And it never seems pleasant at the time, but it's painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who've been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. Wow. God's like, look, no discipline, no training, no hardship. It's pleasant. But all of a sudden, something will happen. And I promise this to you, not because I promise it, but because God promises it. Something is going to happen in your life where you're going, that's why. That's what that was all about. What in the world did I have to go through that? Like, and most of us who are married, can attest to this, right? Anybody who's been married or has kids, like you go through some dumb fight with your husband or your wife, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like, why did we have that dumb fight? We didn't need to fight about that. And a week later, you're discipling somebody who had the same fight, but is no skills to overcome it. And you're like, oh, okay, well, let me help you with that. He allows us to go through this stuff. Months later, all of a sudden we realize like all that pain, all the fear, all the doubts I had to overcome in order to get to this place is now exactly what I need for this next thing that God has for me. It's exactly the right strength that I have to be able to just pump out 10 reps of this, whatever God has for me, and like move on to the next challenge. And maybe I carry the pain with me. Maybe that's something that keep me that level of strength. But that's what I've got to have in order to have a healing hope. I've got to look forward to what God is making me into. Right. So that way I don't just sit in my hopelessness, or I don't sit in my pain and do nothing with it. I don't waste my pain. I'm looking at this going, okay, God, okay, today I got to push through. The days I have to rest, I rest. I do. And I encourage anybody, like, I'm not giving any medical advice, right? You got to rest, you rest. Because God makes it, you lie down in green pastures, in the safety of your home, where you get to watch some Netflix or get some encouragement from your family. He makes us lie down. When you have to push through, and when those times are, when you've got to serve, when you got to give, it's like a Sunday service, and man, that pain is heavy on you, but you're just able to make it. You're just like, that's the workout. Embrace it. The hope that heals you is like, okay, God is going to take this. He's going to reward it. He's going to use this to change me. I'm going to push through. And in this is somehow a diamond is going to come out through this pressure. Somehow it's something just valuable is going to come out of it, because he never wastes the discipline ever. And so I've got to strengthen my feeble arms. I've got to strengthen my weak knees, and I've got to just make level paths. How do I do that? I level it out with hope. A joyful, confident. And people be like, how can you be so joyful? I know you're in pain. Doesn't matter. I get to go to heaven. My name's written in the book of life. I'm here serving him. He knows the pain I'm in. And oftentimes, even when I'm in the midst of it, the pain just dissipates. Like, I feel pain right now. I can tell, but it's not the same level it was 10 minutes before this call when I'm praying, God, should I do this call because I'm hurting? It's just different. There's a level of zeal. The Spirit just like kind of takes away some of the inflammation. I can't explain how it works. I don't know how it works. And I don't want, if I ever figure it out, I'd probably use it the wrong way. So God's keeping it hidden from me. I'll search it out later. But what ends up happening is just the love for God overcomes all the hurt. Right? In the hope of heaven, and the hope that some good thing is going to come from serving in this way, that somebody's going to hear this message and go, that's it. Thank you. That's what I needed. That'll get me through the next 10 minutes. If it gets somebody through the next 10 minutes, man, that's good enough. Like, if it gets somebody through the next hour, amen. If it helps somebody go through the next day, wow. But man, maybe this is the lifetime lesson that somebody needed in order to get to where they need to get to. Maybe it being presented like this in the PowerPoint with me in a little circle is exactly what somebody needed. I don't know. God put this on my heart an hour before I put it together, before we're meeting, so I don't know. But in some way, the hope that I have is giving me healing enough to be able to just put all the energy I have out there. If I got to take a nap afterwards, amen. But I'm going to still get what I need to get done today for my family, for God, for everybody that needs me through his power that gives me strength. And in the end, he'll reward it. He'll reward it because he exists and he rewards those who earnestly seek him. The last point I have for you is a lasting love. A lasting love. This is the greatest one. This is the one. Like we all had it. We had to fix our faith. In fixing our faith, it brings us to hope. A joyful, confident expectation of salvation. Man. And then because of that our lasting love is going to help us get to the finish line. Take a look back at Hebrews 11 and verse 17 and see the lasting love for God that spared his life, spared his family, and we're still talking about him to this day because of it. By faith, in verse 17, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. he who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son. Even though God had said to him, it's through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead. And so, in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death. You know, the kingdom is built on broken dreams. The kingdom's built on people who said, gave you a promise, and you believe that promise, and God used that promise to motivate you. And then the next thing you know, like, he's like, are you willing to give that promise up? You know, here he's got Isaac. He was promised through Isaac, his offspring would be reckoned. He's like, as many as the stars in the seashore. Oh my gosh, to a person in Abraham's time, that would have been like, you're going to be known forever. You're going to exceed all expectations. No one's ever going to forget you because of all the offspring you're going to have. And that's exactly what he heard. But yet he loved God more than the promise. He loved the giver more than the gift. And that's the lasting love that'll get us through all this. The being that's going to give me the results from my pain, the being that's going to, like, show me how to live in his ways, the being that's created this city for us, that he wants us to be a part of, the being that lived among us and died among us because I couldn't do it myself. The lasting love for him, because you know what? Everything else will disappoint us anyway. The promises are just promises, and we don't know how God's going to fulfill them. They'll all be fulfilled. All of them. You will be fruitful when you remain in him. You will be. It's a matter of when, not if. Right? You will be. Right? When you live a life of love, right, and you have a lasting love for God, every promise is yes in Christ. Every one of them. You'll every place you set your foot, he will give you. I mean, it's just a matter of when, not if. And sometimes he's got to seemingly almost break a promise to test our faith to get us there. But now, once he got to that place, imagine Abraham, like when he's about to kill Isaac, and God says, no, stop. Now that you haven't withheld your son from me, I know you won't withhold anything from me. Imagine he's like, boom, okay, now I know God's legit right here. This is really a gift from God. This Isaac guy is a gift from God. He's my son. Like, God didn't just give him to me, he also spared him for me. This is, wow. This is incredible. How much more focus and attention do you give on raising an incredible son? Like, he just became the father of a lifetime after that moment, because it's like, it's confirmed. This is exactly where I need to be. And the confirmation is huge. When we get confirmation about where we're at, we don't deserve it. We should just go wherever we're told and be there, and we don't need confirmation. God, we're not owed anything, but yet God loves us so much, he's going to give us confirmation that we're in the right place, that we're doing the right thing. You know, recently, one of my daughters, who was struggling with all this stuff they teach in school, like it's okay to be transgender, and if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin and all this stuff, right? And when it came up, I didn't blow up. I was just like, sweetheart, we'll talk about it when you're older. But if you want to talk about it now, I'd love to talk to you about your feelings about this and all that. But we'll talk about it when you're older. I love you. I love you and who you are. If you feel like you want to be boy-like, we'll go shoot guns. I don't care. We'll build cars. I don't care. You don't have to go through a surgery for us to do those things. But yet someone in school had told her that that's exactly what she needed. And I had to love her through that, even though she was telling me stuff that I think is totally not, like, God is not cool with. I was like, you know what, sweetheart, we'll talk about it when you're older. She's like, why do I have to wait? Well, I said, why do you have to wait till you're 16 to drive? She's like, well, because I don't have the right judgment with a car. Awesome. Why can't you vote until you're 18? I said, well, because I don't know enough about politics to pick the right person. And I said, why do you have to be 21 to drink alcohol? So, because I'm not developed enough yet for alcohol. Alcohol could really mess up my development. Exactly. She started to get it, right? Because but I loved her through it. And then that love, you wonder if that was a waste. Like, should I have blown up? Should I have been like, you'll never live like this, be my daughter? And 2 weeks ago, she's like, you know what? I'm tired of people calling me a boy. I need to do something so that people realize that I'm actually a girl. She got braids in her hair now. You'll see her tomorrow. It's incredible. right? It's incredible. And it was just in hope, but it's like, I got to love her. And I can't let that love be corrupted by anything. Nothing detestable, nothing. I had to show her the trust that was required in order for her to A, get open with me and stay open, and B, like, understand that I love her. I told her what I thought was right and wrong, but I didn't like not take her on a date the next week. I didn't do any of that stuff. And I still gave her love, like it says here in the Greek is agape, right? It's affection. It was good towards her, right? I didn't like shun her or separate her off or anything like that. I was benevolent toward her. I gave her a brotherly love. Like I said, took her on dates and hung out with her and watched stupid movies she liked to watch. And all stuff, not because I was trying to change her mind, but because I actually love her, right? I figured love would change her mind as long as I let my love last. The lasting love that we have. It's so tenuous, and we can like get rid of it over something so stupid and small, like an opinion or something like that. But when we continue to just love God first, and I think, my God, why have you allowed my daughter to make this decision? Like, okay, I'm going to love you first, God. I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to treat my daughter like you would if you were here. How would you do it? You tell her, hey, that thing you're doing is wrong, but I got your back. I love you. Let's make that choice when you're older so you don't jack yourself up. Let me show you the truth about people who've gone through this, right? And over time, man, that love changed her mind. It's a lasting love, but again, it's so tenuous. We can let it go over something so dumb. And the Bible warns us about this in Hebrews 12. If you take a look at Hebrews 12 in verse 16, we can let go of that lasting love for God. We can make him so small, smaller than our problems for something so dumb, like something so like just for some like instant pleasure or something like that. We can never let go of the love we have for God. We can't, right? And even when we're hurting and struggling and like everything seems to hurt, and we can like get some kind of relief, we got to remember these words here. It says in Hebrews 12, verse 16, see that no one is sexually immoral or is godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights as the oldest son. Afterward, as you know, when he wanted to inherit this blessing, he was rejected. Even though he sought the blessing with tears, he could not change what he had done. You know, oftentimes we can rest on all the good stuff we've done in the past. But I believe it's Ezekiel 22 or 27. It's like, hey, look, the obedience you had in the past, that's okay, but I care about what you do now. If you decide to be disobedient now, that's what matters. Like, that's what I'm looking at. If you were disobedient in the past, I'm going to overlook it if you decide to be obedient now. Like, he's an ever-present help in times of trouble. And so often over something so small, we can just like let go, like not live as a son or daughter of God. We can err on the side of like, well, let me idolize my pain instead of worshiping my God. Now, you have to decide when that's right for you. Sometimes you may feel like you're pushing yourself. I'm not telling you to do anything. You evaluate yourself. I trust each and every person that hears this, that the Holy Spirit in you is going to tell you. If you're a baptized, sold out disciple, the Holy Spirit's going to tell you exactly the right thing to do. You're going to hear that quiet, gentle whisper, and it's going to be amazing. But what I want to encourage you is like, don't ever give up for something so small as sin or a little bit of pleasure here or a little bit of rest there. When we need to rest, we'll rest. But a lasting love is one where we're like, we see beyond the circumstances, we see beyond the immediate benefits, and we look toward the city whose architect and builder is God. Let's not let any one of us be godless, because we have a lasting treasure that's waiting for us. And this is the last scripture I'm going to share with you here in Hebrews 12:22. Hebrews 12:22. Just skip down the page a little bit there. The scriptures say here, you've come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You've come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, to the church of the firstborn whose names are written in heaven. You've come to God, the judge of all, to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. Therefore, since we're receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful and so worship God acceptably in reverence and awe. For our God is a consuming fire. You know, a lasting love. God has a lasting love for us. He's showing us that lasting love in that lasting kingdom that he has for us. He has a lasting love for us that was shown through the blood he gave on the cross. One that's better than the blood of Abel. One that says to him that we're his. We belong to him. And he's given us this kingdom, not just the one in the future, but the one we have right now. He's given us this kingdom. It can never be shaken. We get to be thankful and so worship God acceptably in reverence and awe. Think about all the great miracles that are happening around you right now. Think about all the incredible things God's done in your life. We get to worship God in reverence and awe. Our God's a consuming fire. He's incredible. Like there's nothing that can stop him, nothing can go ever against his will. If he wants something to happen, it's going to happen. It's so incredible. And everything he wants to happen in this universe is for your good and my good. A lasting love. His love lasts. Let's be godly and let our love last as well. The lasting love is what's going to get us through our diseases. It's going to get us through our chronic illnesses. It's going to get us through our pain. And when we're on our bed, horizontal, and we can't even think to pray, we're going to eke out a prayer anyway. When we're horizontal, we don't want to tune into church service because we just feel ashamed that we're not there. We're going to tune in anyway. When we're horizontal and we don't want to read our Bible because it hurts to eat, like my eyes hurt, but we're gonna listen. We're gonna find some way to get the word in us anyway. Why? Because we have a lasting love that will never be broken between us and God. And we're not gonna let anything get in between us and God, be godless like Esau, but no, we're gonna be part of this kingdom that's never shaken and give God all the glory. Guys, I love you very much. Thank you for allowing me to preach a lesson to you.